V'isvadu achatasum asher asu. In Parsha Naso, the Torah talks about a person confessing for the negativity that they have done. So there's a story that's brought down in Shifchei Baal Shem, stories of Baal Shem, that he brings on this story. It's a very interesting story that we have to understand. The story is like this, that the Baal Shem was once traveling to Brod. Brod was a very famous city then, a very important city, a Jewish city. A lot of scholars lived in Brod. And he was traveling to Brod. And the night before he came to Brod, to the city, the Baal Shem was lying in his bed. And the story is that his knees were quaking. He saw that he was in a terrible state of anguish or pain. And his student that was attending to him woke him up. And he said, it looks like my master, my teacher, that you're afraid of something, you're worried about something. Please tell me what's bothering you so much. So the Baal Shem Tov told him that his teacher, Shlight, came to him in a dream, in a vision, and told him that tomorrow, when you're going to come to Brod, to the city, they're going to give you a lot of kavod, a lot of honor, a lot of respect. You're a great teacher, they're going to give you a lot of respect. But you should know, you have to hold yourself strong. Because if you don't hold yourself strong, you're going to lose all your spiritual madrigas, all your spiritual levels that you achieved will be lost. Everything you achieve in this life will be lost. So Baal Shem Tov was very afraid about this. So it said when he came to Brod the next morning, and the whole city came to greet the Baal Shem Tov. They all came with their Shabbos clothes, they dressed up very beautifully to greet the Baal Shem in great honor. And so Baal Shem went off the carriage. When he left the carriage, he started playing with the horses. And he started kicking them and playing with them like someone that's just a young little child that's having fun with the horses. And this was a way to deflect the honor that he was receiving. This is the story. This is the story that's brought down Shifchei Baal Shem, which means that when a person is about to receive honor and receives honor, if they're not machzik ma'ameh, if they don't hold strong, then the person loses everything they have. And the answer to that, what Baal Shem Tov did, was to play with the horses. What is the oimek? What is the depth of this story? What does it mean? It means like this. Every person has both an internal life and an external life. They have the life that they project to the outside, and then they have a life that's going on internally within themselves. The honor covered, when people honor somebody, you're honoring somebody for their external life, because no one really knows. No one knows what's going on in the hearts of man. You never really know what the thoughts of another person are. What you do know about another person is their projection. How they're projecting on the outside. You see a person's very powerful. Okay, so the person looks powerful. What is powerful? Because outwardly he's projecting power. You see a person that looks very smart. Okay, so he's probably a great scholar. You see a person that looks like a great righteous person, a tzaddik. So outwardly it's because he's projecting himself as a tzaddik. So the idea of kavod in its own, kavod means the honor of what is being projected. Because what's really going on in the pnimius, what's really going on internal, can never be projected. So therefore, if a person accepts honor, a person accepts kavod, a person says, by the way, you're so smart, and you say, yeah, it's true, I'm really smart. You say this to yourself, or by the way, you're so interesting, and say, yeah, it's true, I'm really interesting, you're so smart, and you're so intelligent, and you're such a kind person, and you really integrate that level of honor. What you're basically saying, what you're basically demonstrating is that the way you're living in the outside life is the fullness of yourself is just the external, because you're taking what people perceive as what's being projected on the outside life, on your chitzonius life, on your outside life, and you're saying, I don't actually have no inside life, but I recognize, because you recognize that I have an outside life that's very successful, very intelligent, and I'm a big tzaddik, and you accept that. Therefore, I'm buying into your narrative. I'm buying into your chitzonius, into your external narrative. If a person receives that honor, they lose everything that's going on in their internal life, because it's really showing to yourself and to Hashem, to the world, it's really showing that you actually have no internal life. the mere fact of accepting honor is saying that my projection is really who I am. And if your projection is really who you are, then you're really nothing, because your projection can never really be who you are. It's almost like the people are feeding off that projection, and they receive that projection of that external. You lose the internal life. And this is why there were very famous tzaddikim that said, for example, about the Chayz of Lublin, that he hid in the miracles that he did. Or the Chidush Harim hid. There were tzaddikim the star, they're hidden tzaddikim, and they hid in the scholarship. What that means is they projected a certain image that they're great miracle workers, that they're great scholars, because they wanted to protect their inner life. They wanted people to honor them for something that's external to themselves, not really who they are in their really essence. Because when a person is feeding off that external life, they're allowing the person to still remain in their internal life whole. But if you're fully projected in your internal life, in the external, people feed off that, and you're left with no internal life. And this is why the Baal Shem Tov was afraid of honor, and in order to deflect that honor, so people shouldn't honor him from the external perspective, he deflected that and acted like a fool or like a child, so he shouldn't receive that honor. And we have to think about this in terms of our own life, that whenever we receive honor, we have to make sure that it's not sucking away our inner life. It's just a projection. Let people have that projection. And you can sometimes project things because you want people to hold on to those things, but they shouldn't really take hold of your real nefesh, of what's really going on in your internal life.